Good morning everybody, Calm Biker here, and I'm on the road of many cameras. If they put in speed cameras up in order to slow people down, I think these ones definitely work. These are those average speed cameras, and you know, your Gatsos, you get the usual, don't you? People flying around at 70 miles an hour on a 50 mile an hour road like this, and then they see the Gatso, they slam on the brakes, go past the camera and then accelerate again, and it doesn't really do any good. So you could argue that those ones definitely are a money making thing. Well, not definitely, but you know, you could argue that they're a money making thing for those people who don't quite manage to brake hard enough before them. These ones though, these are the average speed cameras, and they're the nasty ones that point behind you to get your rear number plate, so you're not even immune on a bike. These ones definitely work at slowing people down, although I wonder if people are actually paying attention anymore, because I'm going along at 50 on my speedo, which is probably about 48 really, but the guy in front of me is doing that as well, so what the heck. And a couple of times the guy behind me has got right up behind me, far too close. And then I've kind of given him a wave and got him to go back again, but I just wonder, is he concentrating on his speedo more than the road? Because there is absolutely no point in getting that close when you know you're not going to overtake because you can't speed up. Anyway, that's why am I going on about this? This isn't the point of my video. This is I'm going to do a quick review video, or tell you about video. I'm not sure yet. Well, we'll find out, won't we? About I2I Motorcycle Academy. I know a few of you will know about it already, and I recorded a video the other day when I got this bike back on the road where I mentioned it. Now, whether that video made it to YouTube or it's going to make it after this one, I don't know, but if I've got them in the wrong order, sorry. But I2I Motorcycle Academy, basically it's a chap, and I think it's his brother, and there might be a couple of others as well, and they do motorcycle courses. And it's a bit different to everything I've done before, because obviously I've done my CBT, which to be honest was a lot of nothing. You know, half an hour of turning left, turning right and U-turns, followed by a couple of hours on the road, if that. Doesn't really teach you a lot, but you know, it's the rules, so I did that. I've done my test, obviously, and the Mod 1, that's a little bit about motorcycle skills, but there's not a great deal really. Again, it's, can you do a U-turn without putting your foot down? Yes, I can, but you know, who cares actually? What does it matter? When you're out on the road, if you think you're losing your balance when you're doing a slow U-turn and you put your foot down, that's got to be better than not putting your foot down and falling off. So who cares? And then a bit of time on the road, of course, in the Mod 2. And then I've done my IAM test as well. And all of them really don't concentrate on proper motorbike handling skills at all. The IAM, the Mod 2, the second half of the CBT are all about the road in varying levels of road safety and varying levels of what they'll let you get away with. The CBT first part is so tiny, and you're on such a small bike as well, you know, a light bike, that it's not teaching you a whole amount about handling a bigger bike. The Mod 1, there's manoeuvres on it are not exactly complicated or difficult ones, so you're going through the motions. So it's all about safety really, and this course isn't. This course is all about handling skills. So it's off-road, it's on a runway. I nearly said motorway, that would be bad, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm doing U-turns on a motorway. Yeah, it's on a runway, and it's all about bike handling. So I thought I'd have a look at it, give it a try. I've booked in for 2 days. So what I'll do, I'm going to go there now. I'm going to do my first day. I have got in contact with the guy and asked him if I could record it, and he says he'd prefer it if I didn't. So I can't record the actual day. But I'll talk about it a bit on my way home tonight, and I'll talk about it again tomorrow after I finish the second day. That is assuming that it isn't like the last motorbike course I did, where I came off at the end of it and ended up in hospital. So I'll stop here, and I'll talk to you again when day one is over. Oh, and while I remember, day one is course MC1 and day two is course MC3, just in case you decide to look it up. So heading back now after the first day, the MC1, and it's been fascinating. It certainly turned a lot of stuff on its head from when you're learning to ride, and it does make you question actually why they teach you the way they teach you. So we started off with some really basic things. We did some steering bits and pieces and some braking exercises. The braking exercise was quite interesting. He started off with a line of cones, and there was kind of a starting point, then a gap of 15 to 20 metres to the first cone, and then the cones were spaced out about every 5 metres or so, and everybody had to guess where we would be able to stop, and we're thinking kind of 3-4 cones down if we were doing 40 miles an hour, that kind of thing. And then he gave us a braking technique to try. Now when you're learning to ride, you're always told for emergency braking, kind of just squeeze and gradually apply pressure. And this wasn't the braking technique we were doing. We were doing a initial little piece of brake just to compress the suspension, followed almost immediately by really squeezing the brakes on full. And it was fascinating. We were stopping from 40 miles an hour in maybe 12 metres, 13 metres. Absolutely fascinating. Couldn't believe how quickly you could stop. We're doing some exercises about bike stability. So there was a lot of this, kind of not holding on at all. There was some of that at speed as well. So we're doing kind of 40 miles an hour, hands off, 30 miles an hour, hands off, down to about 15 miles an hour, hands off. Later on, we turned that into hazard avoidance. So we're doing the braking from not quite as fast, from about 30, but in a box that was only about 20 metres long. So you had about half of the box to actually slow yourself down to a sensible speed, and then you had to swerve around cones, and then later on swerve around people, or a person anyway, the instructor chap, which was quite entertaining, but surprisingly easy. Once you'd actually got the techniques together, once you're doing what he was showing you to do with the machine control side of things, that became fascinatingly easy. So it was an exercise more difficult than the Mod 2 one, sorry, the Mod 1 one I should say, and yet done with no concern whatsoever. And it represents what's apparently the most common accident of somebody pulling out of a junction on a 30 mile an hour road. We then got to the bit that I was looking forward to, and with interest and a little bit of concern, which is where he brought out his piece of wood that's maybe 3 inches thick, and we did hazard non-avoidance, which basically is heading up to this piece of wood at 30 miles an hour and just riding over it, and then building from that to riding over it without holding on to the bike or rather holding on with your legs but not holding the bars, and then getting into rolling off the throttle just before the piece of wood so that you can roll on again and bounce the bike from its back suspension, or rather onto its front suspension to the back suspension, and lift the front wheel and just hop over it. And yeah, it works really well. Really well. It was quite surprising. You're hitting something hard enough for it to kick you out of the seat, and yet even if you're not holding on, the bike is quite happy just to do it. A lot of today was about giving you the idea that actually the bike is capable of doing a lot of the things that you want it to do without any input whatsoever, and actually it's you adding input that causes the problems, that makes things unstable or difficult. And then we finished off with a bit of slow riding, again turned on its head. So I was always taught what you do is you kind of keep your revs quite low, get your clutch right in, and then ease your clutch out to accelerate, pull your clutch back in again to slow down, and have your back brake on pretty much all the time for stability. But by the time we got through all the morning exercises, you actually, everyone was clear that the back brake doesn't add any stability at all. So what we were doing was holding the clutch in one position, the throttle in another position, and not varying them at all, and then just controlling the speed with a rear brake. And that meant you could basically just stop the bike and then release the brake and carry on without putting your feet down. It's quite entertaining stuff. Although he did have a non-skill version of the slow riding, which basically was let your clutch out and get moving, turn your throttle right off, roll right off, so you've got no power on, your clutch is fully out, don't touch your brake. And we were all doing laps of this little circuit with no input whatsoever, no back brake, no clutch, no throttle, just going round and round on tick over, and barely touching the bars. I mean, at some points taking your hands off the bars. And again, it was all explained really well and all really easy to do. And then you come away from it thinking, why did I ride the way I was riding this morning? I'm putting all these inputs in when actually the bike is so much better at riding than I am. So I'm really looking forward to day 2. So I will shut up now, head home, and I will carry on this video tomorrow. Well, that's the end of the second day. Give you a wipe there. That's the end of the second day. Machine Control 3 they call it, MC3. And the first day was good, the second day was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. I've had a couple of people asking me if I'd recommend it. Absolutely, without a doubt. And it's not hard to say why, but it's hard to explain certain bits of it. So, I've had 2 days there, and my confidence has completely changed on the bike. The way I'm going to attack corners has changed. The way I feel about certain things has changed. But I think the main thing that's changed is the way that I believe the bike works. It's clear to me now from doing the course that the bike is damn sight better at riding than I am. Damn sight better. But the thing that was really interesting, the first day kind of set it up. I think I've already mentioned that about doing braking exercises and things like that, and getting the bike, well, on average he reckons about from 40 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour, stopping the bike in about 12 or 15 metres is what the students on the course get, not what he gets. He was showing us today stopping the bike from 40 miles an hour in 6 metres, which is what, 3 bike lengths if that. And not only was he stopping it in that shorter distance, he was doing it whilst turning. And this is what I think I've taken out of the second day the most, is the things that we believe about bikes. I say we, I did, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who already know what I've just learned. But from talking on the Hangouts, the things that quite a few people that I've talked to believe, a lot of them aren't true. So, for example, we were told, we often told, you can't brake in a corner, and if you do, you have to use your back brake. And we've been riding today at 40 miles an hour into S-bends with no issue at all, whacking on the front brake. And I don't just mean kind of dragging the brake, I mean properly hard braking. Then you're being told you can't change direction while you're braking. Well, we've been doing that same hard braking through the S-bend and changing direction in the middle of it. And the thing that people always say is, if you try and do these things, if you're in a bend and you brake, the bike stands up. And we've proven, and you might not believe me, you might not believe me at all, but we have proven today that it doesn't. If you apply the front brake very hard in a bend, as long as you do nothing else, all that happens is you slow down incredibly quickly. If you do it even harder, your back wheel comes off the ground, and that's it. So it's fascinating. That's one of the many things that we've talked about today and then gone out and done. And yeah, it's been brilliant. I mean, we've done all sorts today. We've done very heavy braking, we've done braking in corners, braking whilst changing direction. We've been doing braking on the back brake without rolling off the throttle, and that actually gives you better braking than braking on the back brake and rolling off the throttle. You slow down quicker because of the bigger contact patch that you get off the rear tyre, because the engine's trying to push it forwards. Then we've done slaloming whilst leaning off, slaloming whilst hanging a bum cheek off, that kind of thing. And been quite an improvement in speed and also safety through those things. So we're going through slaloms to find a baseline as a beginning of an experiment, as the guy likes to put it. And I was going through the slalom at about 26 miles an hour, and then doing it whilst leaning off and hanging off, and I managed to add an extra 10 miles an hour whilst keeping the bike slightly more upright, so nothing is going to be dragging on the floor. Although on this bike you have to be leaned over pretty far before anything starts dragging, certainly further than I'm happier being. And then we've been adding more and more to that braking exercise as well, which has been fantastic, to the point where we're doing very heavy braking where you can feel the back end coming up one-handed, and again without the bike changing direction or anything, just slowing down. It's hard to explain it. It's not something I'd want to explain in any great detail, because I wouldn't like to think of somebody going out there and trying it without the build-up, because it's been about building up through the 2 days. And I can imagine that if I'd have gone out 2 days ago and tried some of the things I've been doing today, I might have put myself back in the hospital. So if you're thinking of doing it, just do it. It's brilliant. Just, yeah, absolutely brilliant. We had a lad on a Sinis Apache with L plates on doing it. We've had a chap, I wouldn't like to say how old he was, but I would guess, I wouldn't like to say how old he was, but I would guess he's in his late 60s, on a big adventure bike doing it. We've had adventure bikes, we've had Apaches, we've had sports bikes, nakeds like this, Tourers. We had a Ducati Panigale 899 that turned up this morning and held us all up because he'd been to the petrol station and filled it up with diesel. He wasn't very impressed, I don't think, but they got it going in the end. so it wasn't any harm done, but I hope he's going to go and get himself a new fuel filter. But yeah, heartily recommend it. It's all about machine control, nothing about roadcraft. The guy does mention repeatedly, if you do this, don't use this as your get out. Don't try and get better at riding so that your near misses are easier to get out of. He's a big one for go and do your IAM or your ROSPA or something similar. Get your roadcraft being the police training manual. Get your roadcraft skills as well, and that way you don't have to get yourself out of the situations, and then you can just use all this new stuff for fun. Hey! Anyway, that's my 2 days experience. Absolutely loved it. I will be going back again, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do Machine Control 4 or the knee down course. I quite fancy doing the knee down course. He reckons that within the 1 day of the knee down course, most people by lunchtime will be getting the knee down, both sides. And there's all sorts of things about what happens if you're getting your knee down and then let go of the bike, and what the bike will do for you. Remembering that the bike is better at riding than you are. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe. Gonna go home in this rain. We've had this rain for a lot of the afternoon while we've been doing these manoeuvres, and it's made not a jot of difference. Thanks for watching. Ride safe. And I'll talk to you again soon.